Hello, children. Back in 1948, President Harry S. Truman kissed me. Now, in those days, parents didn't worry all that much about germs or pedophilia, so politicians did a whole lot of baby kissing. I was 2 years old, and my parents, who were loyal New Deal Democrats, were happy about it. I don't remember it, of course, but my mother recalled it for me many times in the years that followed. Harry Truman, she said, Dad held you up to see the president, and he came right over and kissed you. And I suppose we went home to our 2 rooms in the Bronx that night. And I suppose my mother sang me to sleep with that same old Union song that was my usual lullaby. Long-haired preachers come out every night. They will tell you what's wrong and what's right when you ask them for something to eat. They will answer in voices so sweet. You will eat by and by in that glorious land above the sky. Work and pray, live on hay. You'll eat pie in the sky when you die. It's a lie. Well, what do you think, children? In fairy tales, a kiss is a powerful thing. Now, Harry Truman was not magic, of course, but he was a prince of a man in his way. And maybe I was marked somehow that long ago day, back when I was too young to remember. 8 years later, an Eisenhower Sound truck came by our 3 rooms in Queens. Hey kids, one of the guys in the truck said, you want to talk on the loudspeaker? Sure, we all replied. Okay, he said, one at a time. Say your name and say your parents are voting for Dwight D. Eisenhower. I went first, and I said my parents were voting for Adlai Stevenson because they were, of course. The other kids didn't get their turns because the truck drove away. Now, most of you children never heard of Adlai Stevenson because, well, we have a way of forgetting the losers in this country, but he was a good man. I do hope you know a little about Eisenhower, the president who warned us about the military-industrial complex. We really should have listened, children. We really should have listened. I'll just skip over the 60s and the 70s because you children are tired of those stories. I just want to say that back in those days, I never dreamed I'd ever feel nostalgia for the Nixon administration. The first time I felt it, by the way, was during the Clinton administration. New Democrats are like fat-free cheese, kind of plasticky and just not satisfying. Also, compared to Clinton, Nixon was one hell of a liberal. They want to put goddamn Reagan on the dime. Why the dime? Why not the 100 or the 1,000 or the goddamn $1 million bill? Well, in case you never noticed, it's Roosevelt on the dime right now. What they really want to do by replacing Roosevelt with Reagan is to spit in my father's face, spit in my mother's face, and spit in the face of every working man and woman who gives a damn about social justice. Reagan dime. No thanks. I'll take 2 Jefferson nickels or 10 Lincoln pennies. And if you want to give me Reagan, give me that goddamn $1 million bill. I'll spend it on some social justice. Not long after America was suckered into electing Reagan, I was in Washington, marching with the air traffic controllers Reagan fired. Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan invited us all to a party at the Senate office building, where we drank a lot of free beer. Pat Moynihan gave a speech. So did I. It was a good party, but we didn't know it was a wake for organized labor. It was back then, in the Reagan years, that greed became a virtue. How the hell did we let that happen, children? How did we let it happen? So now we have the worst president in the history of the United States. Worse than Warren G. Harding, Andrew Johnson, and James Buchanan all rolled up together. It shouldn't have been a surprise to anyone because George W. screwed up everything he did in his whole screwed up life. It was a good old boy, though. And that cabal of neocon military industrial authoritarian plutocrats saw he was both electable and stupid enough to believe anything they told him. Well, it looks like it's time for the pendulum to swing again. But which way is it going to go? It's not like it just goes back and forth. It goes every which way. We don't need neo-libs any more than we need neocons. And as for new Democrats, well, they just turn my stomach. Maybe it's because of my age. Something left over from those hopeful days when some of us thought we could change the world. Maybe it's because of my parents. Or maybe it's because Harry Truman kissed me. I don't know. I just know I've had enough bullshit, enough manipulation, enough plutocracy. I'm ready for a real Democrat again. I'm ready for someone to give him hell, just like Harry.